Welcome in. We are going to learn how to engage and release in the front space in the beginning. So I want us to kind of start to settle in with a chest opener, a coordinated bridge pose. So what we have is a blanket and a low fold at the back. Your bolster is lengthwise on your mat, and you might have a wall space nearby, but don't get too close to it because your feet might kick it. So I want you to have enough space between your blanket roll at the base, and this might be a little bit higher of a roll than you need. So you'll find out if your legs feel like they're hyperextending in the back of the knee, then you will have the blanket lower. Okay, so we don't want to be causing that type of pressure. If my leg is too high up, that can happen. So I'm going to sit on the very end, the short end of my bolster, like I'm going to go sledding. Okay, so but I'm going to be basically bolstering. So I'm at the edge of the bolster. I have a sandbag nearby and all my props. And at the very edge, I step my feet onto the other side of the blanket. And my feet could touch a wall, right? This is not a bad situation here. I just don't want you to have your knees bent so much that you are having trouble straightening out the legs. So as you lower back, and you might have to walk your feet like 1 foot in if your back is a little strained to come back. So as you lower back, all the way back, the shoulders are still on the bolster. And then as I go all the way back with my head on the blanket, and I have both of my legs extending, if it feels too much to have them extending in the very first few moments, just let them bend. And you can definitely come back to extending. Don't feel like you have to go to the full supported bridge in the beginning. But when you come back, if you reach your hands behind your head, right to the neck, the cervical 7, right at the base of the cervical curve, I call this the cervical spout lately. I feel like it's kind of this spout of circulation, kind of this C curve, right? You want to find the base of cervical C7, right? The base, that bone that sticks out is not touching the floor. So I think that's the best cue for alignment on this one. Because if that's pushing on the ground, then my shoulders are too far back off the bolster. So if you need to come back up on the bolster and scoot to the base again, then do so, right? So everyone's taller than me, so I can kind of get away with being a little bit back on the bolster because my whole body is supported by it with my shortness. Okay, so there's got to be some positives to that. Now, as you descend back, this is a qualify as a gathering our way in towards head below the heart. So that would be what? An inversion. So what's so good for us, right, is inversions are good definitely lymphatically and neurologically. Okay, so we're going to have the sand across the thigh lids or the rib cage. You get to decide. If your knees are bending and the soles of the feet are on the floor right now, if that feels better for your back, then you'll probably have your sand across the ribs. Okay, if your legs are reaching, you can certainly take them as far outwards as you want on the blanket. And I would say explore how the spaces begin to release here, right? Feeling that the legs could part, the feet could turn out a little bit in the first pose, right? Feel as if you can work with how to engage in creating the pose or the shape. And then how do you release tension as you're in the pose? And some shapes we work with, you can do that. Not all of them through this practice, but some of them like this, you can set up and then just let the body receive the benefits from the pose. So the shoulders are heavy and the pressure on the back is creating openness and circulation for the lungs. Right, we're really working with that flexibility of the breathing spaces. Centering into your breath. and taking up residence in your body's yoga practice right now. But yes, the chin is lifted. Right? This is not a pose where the chin is pushing into the chest. Its chin is up, jaw is relaxed. The teeth can relax. Your mouth. Circulation to your brain. Now arms are straight out to the sides. And now finally feeling where the breath sorts its movement out, right? I sort movement of my breath. That's my main focus through this whole practice, is how my breath is supporting my body to engage and to release, right? So I can feel my core moving. You know, I can feel like the ribs are pulling or kind of tightening in like a cylinder. It's not such a wide stance as some of the back bends or chest openers we do with the bolster across, right? That's going to feel more horizontal. So you can kind of feel this lateral sense of the breath in the spaces of the ribs, right? Noticing that, but simply the body expands in places here as you're breathing, and it centers. It doesn't really flatten out entirely, right? You're lifted up. So it's hard to really squeeze in. We'll get lots of squeezing inwards and twists and organ releasing. But right now we want to just give ourselves a platform for the lungs to kind of be liberated, to stretch open the breathing muscles. Let's just take a few more breaths here. Okay, now let's come into a soles of the feet together, knees splayed out, cobbler's pose. So you can slide the sand off, walk the feet in towards the bolster, and then as your feet touch to it, just scoot the soles of the feet together and the knees releasing out. Now this might be one where a block under each thigh would be really nice, but the bolster could suffice, right? So I find if I add my blocks, I'm not going to be in this one very long, but you might find that that feels a little bit more comfortable if the blocks are as high as they can go, right? So you might find that as more challenge than it's worth, but if you're really feeling restricted in your hips, then you kind of need the blocks usually, right? And this actually pushes me into more of an inversion. So the blocks kind of pick up my thighs, right, as far as the skin. It's kind of pulling the skin a little bit up. Then I feel like I'm dropping back on my head a little more. So I like to explore stuff like that. So just take a few moments. You can be holding onto the blocks. You can have your arms open. You can be blockless. And a few more of the shoulders rolling back and down. If you're slip sliding away off the bolster, you know, maybe you have to scoot back down. Maybe you have to come back up. I don't want you to be flat on your back here. So you should still feel like your shoulders are a little lifted. The shoulder blades are pressing into the bolster, not the floor. Okay. Now, pressing into the feet, right? Knees are out. Now this can be nice if you don't have blocks, because you can kind of exert that circulation in the primary hip muscles. I kind of like the idea of restoring them. So I'm going to use the blocks. And then lower that left sole of the foot down, point the knee up, and then bring the right ankle up and over to the left knee. And as your right knee releases out, you're in figure 4 pose. And just kind of feel on this one. Feel where the circulation is into the inner right hip, shoulders back. Let the right thigh kind of drop out I don't imagine it's going to touch the floor. And then shift sides, right? Sole of the foot down. Now, are you on the blanket? Probably not, right? So I guess you could step on your blanket and try that out. There's always options to feel the props and how they support you all the time. Like, oh, maybe I'll try putting my foot on a block. That could be really nice. If I could put my foot on the bolster, that would be exceptional. But for most of us, we're too tall for that. Okay, our foot's going to be on the floor. All right, now with that left thigh kind of peeling out, right? This is the important stuff, right? For what we need with our health around our knee. As we age, right, we're trying to get this adductor to feel a little bit more flush. Also the muscles on the side of the thigh too, right? We'll get to those pretty soon. So when we start to shift our knee back center, walk your feet in so you're kind of on the balls of the feet, heels are lifted a little bit. And then make sure that blanket under your head is all the way back so it's just under your head, not your shoulders. And then as I slide back off the bolster, I just turn the bolster now across the back of my pelvis, and I'm going to have to scoot down so my pelvis is centered on the bolster. And as I lift up, okay, I'm going to make sure that as I'm in this bridge pose again, I've got the smallest height under my head. Okay, my hands are going to be to my rib spaces. My feet are in a wide stance. And just start to bring the right knee in towards the chest. Kind of feel that scoop without grasping onto the knee. Just see if you can use the core band to find that. And then lower the right foot down. And you're just going to alternate knee towards the chest without holding your knee. Unless you like, I have to hold my knee. Okay, that feels better for you. You go with that. But as you're alternating, one reason we're doing this with the entry into the bolster horizontal under our pelvis is to kind of make a place for the pelvis on the bolster, right? Settle it in. Really feel like you're letting all your weight settle on the bolster. And make space for yourself on the bolster. Take up residence on it. Right? This pelvis is utilizing the bolster for poses, okay? And then as I'm alternating, what I find is the breathing can be articulated nicely. So I in-breath when my foot goes down, and I out-breath when my knee draws in. So this way, as you lower a foot down, the lower abdominals, kind of that soft belly, and then as you exhale, you can feel the knee drawing in, and creating that movement of the diaphragm up towards the base of the heart. Kind of goes with the flow of the breath, really. You don't have to get too particular about your breathing. You could just simply alternate your knee towards your chest. And last one or two. Okay, feeling that reach. Now there's plenty of things to focus in right here, right? But find just the simplicity of breath. And the stretch into the back of the pelvis on one side to the next, then bring both feet off the floor, move them up, and then you can feel the hinge at the hips here, okay? So instead of a lot of rocking motion here, what I want us to do first is we're gonna get a belt, okay? I'm gonna kind of wiggle myself into making a dent on my bolster. Then I know this bolster is supporting me, and we're gonna take a belt and we'll place it, I imagine, to our feet at some point, right? But first things first, make sure it's buckled in a big loop. That's important. And then you scoop up the feet. And as the legs extend up, okay, get a feel of both hands maybe holding and pulling. Okay, now this could be either I pull on the belt or I give myself a lot of slack and I have my elbows touching the floor. For me, surprisingly, my elbows are on the bolster. I don't think I have ever really focused on my elbows on the bolster for this position, to be honest. It's nice to find new things to do. Okay, so as I'm holding, you might feel, okay, shoulders roll back, chest is still kind of puffing up, right? I still want that chest opener. My neck is kind of pushing into more length. So I'm going to try to let my chin lift a little bit so I don't have more roundness in my neck. Okay. And then just lower the left leg down. If it happens to reach to find a blanket, that might be welcome. Some people don't like the blanket under their ankle or their calf, so they kick it away. It's all up to you on that one. Okay. Just don't let the blanket inhibit you from bending your knee or moving your leg around. So if it's holding you in, both hands are holding now. And as my right leg is lifted, I'm going to try to manage flexing the foot, pulling on the ball of the foot with the belt, and maybe turn my foot in and out. Kind of feel as I rotate it in and out, the movement of the bones of the foot, or just the foot itself. We'll call this one Footasana. So moving the foot. Okay, I'm trying to move it, not just an ankle thing, but I imagine one to the other foot is going to feel really different with this and look different as far as your mobility. It's really cool to work with our feet. All right, now hold on to the belt with your left hand. Okay, and now we get into that side of the knee stuff. So my bottom leg, I'm going to give it permission to just bend and kind of flip open like I did earlier with knees out, feet together. And we're going to hold on to the belt and cross the left leg, or sorry, the right leg to the left. Here's an idea if you need to be hands-free. I really like this version too. So if you find that you can't hold it, you find it'll be more enjoyable if you're not, you can always make the loop really big, like so wide, if I can get this right. I got a big loop. Then I bring it around my head, and then I don't leave it around my head or my neck, and I scoop it up around my ribs, right? So now I got the belt around my ribs. I might have to tighten it again, because this is too much slack. And then I let my leg cross over. You can do all the stuff we do with the belt under the foot without holding your belt right this way if the belt's on the ribs. So you might try that. I like that for the breathing muscles, the movement, because the belt kind of gives me some feedback, right? And if you're used to holding it all these years and you don't want to let go of that, you can stay with it, okay? But just know, belt around the ribs is like a nice alternate motion. Just be careful. If you're doing that, you don't want the belt around your neck or your head, right on that one, because you're crossing over. Okay, so now as we're in the side layer of the right leg, we can feel the belly towards the ceiling. Right arm is open, and your head just simply relaxes to the right. That could mean it rolls. It could mean you rest your jaw and it turns. And just feeling that sensation in the back of the hip. The area I'm trying to clue into is the side of my knee. I just kind of feel, what is that about? Do I turn my foot in? Do I bend the knee a little bit? Do I push into the belt? Just finding other areas of sensation that might be sort of stagnant. It's kind of in the middle of the leg, so it's not an easy area, right? Just above the side of the knee to monitor capacity to release it, right? And now bend the right knee. And so almost like you're pointing your toes down to the left thigh. And then bring the right knee back center, lift it up, lift up the leg, that is, and then hold on to the belt with your right hand. And as the right leg stretches over to the other side, bend the left knee and hold it with your left hand. So that gives you opportunity. So both inner legs, both groins have a stretch. It's not just one-sided. However, this is taught often with the left leg straight down with a sandbag on it, right? This is taught like that. So I like to find the opportunity for me and for the sequencing that I'm offering, so that inner right leg, I can turn the leg out. I can start to feel some sensation here. It's not as the same as when the leg was crossing over the same leg, crossing to the left. I felt more on the side of that thigh than I do right here. So just take your time. That things unravel some days more than others. So as I feel the inner leg sensation, that lymph node population gets all that circulation when I have this left leg bent. That's why I like the leg in and out. Otherwise, I don't get the same with my leg straight down. It's just different. To each his own. Okay, now as you assist with holding on, and if your belt's around your ribs, you can do the same thing, right? All of it. You could be hands-free. And as you come back in center, let's bring both feet up into the loop. Remember, you want a loop still, and push the feet out into a leg float. Yep, if the legs are floating too far out, then you just tighten up the belt. Give it a little time. Okay, be patient, just practice the pause, feeling the knees a little bent, feeling where the back of the pelvis centers on the bolster, or is it? If it's not centered, you might have to move a little bit and feel, holding onto the handles of the bolster, maybe shift your rib cage, right? We're sand free on this one, softening through the knees, feeling the foot's part in this, right? Feel how the foot parts push out. You can hold your elbows overhead. This would be a great one. You don't have to hold firm into the elbow. You could have a loose grasp onto the arm. Some people do like a swimmer stretch where instead of palms together overhead, you'll turn the hands out, stretch overhead, and then taking one hand over the other and palm to palm, swimmer stretch. Right, swimmer stretches, hands opposing, so I turn them out, then I bring my palms together and stretch overhead. That's a good one. And the thumbs don't have to touch. This is, I don't have that ability in my hands to get my hands to firmly press. And switch the crossing if you're in swimmer stretch. And the legs can motion, or they could stay still. Okay, just feeling where is sensation of breath. Belly moves with the breath. Okay, now, so good for what? Neurologically, right? Anything legs up, big legs up work, lymphatically. Okay, big legs up means you really have the legs up, not just like a bridge pose like we do in the beginning. They're elevated to reverse the effects of gravity on the heart, the brain. Okay, bend the knees. Take a hold of the belt. Slide. Now, let's say if you had the belt around your rib cage, you wouldn't have a big width with that one. It would be a little limited. So if you took the belt off your ribs, now you're going to come back to that if you decide you don't want your belt in your hands. Okay. And then as you shift, right leg lowers down. There's no rush, right? You might find just articulate the feeling of the right side of the pelvis, extend the right leg down, feel the left leg lift. And hey, even if you're someone who likes to do restorative, all about respiratory stuff, this stuff is still good, right? When we're upside down, we have a leg up because we have the bolster under the hips. So there's going to be a little more lift in the abdominals as far as strengthening here in the core because of the diaphragm's effort when we invert. Thus the strength into the lungs. So just feeling where that leg is reaching. You get to decide, do you move the belt towards the ball of the foot? Do you move it a little bit higher? I mean, you don't want to go over your toes because it'll just drop on your face, but you might play with it. You might move the foot, a little bit of, Footasana. Movement. And this foot, maybe mine is not as interested in the movement. Just wants to stay still. Now feeling where the hip on both sides is stretching. They both get a stretch. Opposite directions. And if any time the bolster under your pelvis makes it more challenging for you to breathe, you're having a struggle with that, then you go down to just a thin blanket under your pelvis, okay? It's a good one to work on the resiliency of our lungs, strengthening, just being upside down and breathing and posing. Okay, so I've got my belt with my right hand holding it now. I'm going to cross the left leg to the right. Now again, you could have the belt around your ribs instead of holding onto it. Now, even if you're here to do something that's strengthening, it doesn't mean the belt around the ribs, you lose anything with strengthening. It might even be more supportive for endurance with your practice, breathing muscles, and then feeling that you can arrive at a state of maybe some calm, layer by layer. Left leg crosses to the right. Now it changes the circulation, how I pull my leg, right? So if I pull or I push, let's say the belt's around my ribs, I might try to kick my leg to the right and then a little bit back, right? Yeah, not probably the best idea for your sciatic area, but you might try to move your left leg to the right and then a little downstream. Kind of feel where the feedback is, where the nourishing pathway of circulation is in the leg. And if it's kind of dead space in there, you feel like the basic motion, and that's like it. You might bend the bottom leg a little more and even bring the right foot in towards the bolster on the floor, and then just feel a little bit more satisfaction with the stretch over. Doesn't mean you have to grip deeper with the hand. You could give more slack and put the elbow kind of firm on the ground and just lightly hold the belt. Or the leash, whatever you want to call it, on your foot. Okay, now kind of feel how the inner left thigh gets a little pulse here. There's a little pulse, so when I bend the left knee and I swing the leg now to the left side, all that heat, right, when you were turning the thigh in, you're trying to work on that dimension of stimulation here for the groins, the leg pit. So right knee comes up, you hold on to the right knee with the right hand, left leg out, all up to you. Okay, if you decide it's just too much for you to have both of the legs up and out, you can have the right foot on the floor and the knee out. This works good. You can have the right leg straight down with a sandbag on it. You have options, and you can continue to kind of wander a little bit with it. Just wander, moving the leg, or come back into center. Feel the lower core move with the breath. Let that be your kind of your trampolining, right, of the breathing muscles here in the lower core, since you're up on a bolster. Okay, let's come back on up. All right, let's take a few moments and brain float for each side. Now, if you're not a brain floater, you can have the belt with your hands straight back overhead, okay? Otherwise, belt goes to the center of the back of your head. You got a sandbag for the top of the right thigh. And we just kind of work our way to kind of completing the cycle with the leg opportunity to bring circulation to my core, my corgans, I like to call them. Also the ribs, because we're going to do sage poses next. So I want your ribs to get kind of centered and ready for interaction and length. So I'm letting my leg be up and then it flushes down, right? You got a lot of fluid in the body. There's so much fluid, right? Lymph, blood. The heart's going to do all the work for the blood motion in the body, but you're going to do the work for the lymphatic pump, right? 70 pints of that fluid. So when I'm upside down, right, this is where I have the real opportunity where it gets kind of stagnant at the base of my body or retention, and reverse the flow. So if this is too much tension on the neck, just loosen up the belt. Some people will make it so loose that their head touches the blanket, and that's fine, right? It's really up to you. Arms are open. Let's give about another 45 seconds or so here. Just let the leg, now if you are going straight with the leg and you're okay with that exertion on the knee, right, what you might do is do a little bit of a nano bend, even just the slightest, so the knee stays kind of healthy in its center. Just a tiny bit of a bend. Now shifting the sand first to the belly, right at the base. Okay, and then when you switch the foot that's in the belt, you might be able to keep it on the back of your head. You might be kind of having a little bit of fun with that. And it might feel a little bit wonky, so you might have to reset. Now the belt is at the occiput and a little bit above. It just depends on how things balance on you. So some people just get really frustrated with brain float and they end up holding onto the belt and just stretching back. And this might be a nice one to stretch into the arms, maybe even if there's some challenge with the arm or the wrist, right? That might feel good, it might not. So you have to be in the moment and decipher that. But as I place the sand on the top of the left thigh, I'm going to scoot it down. So it's kind of a little bit turning in. You know, and all these little things might affect your other leg. So if your sand is high up on the left hip, it might feel different in the right leg stretching versus it's lower. So I would say kind of play with that a little bit. This is our kind of final pose in this part of the sequence. So even if you're feeling, okay, I'm kind of done with this leg up stuff, we'll get to it. We'll get to the next phase, but just see if you could be a little patient with the body's evolution here. So as the spine gets that tug, remember cervical spine was in a really different avenue a few moments ago with our bolster set up in the beginning with that cervical spout. It was really pushed on the bolster. Now it's extending. Right, we're getting all this kind of flexibility here. But I'm using the power of the weight of my head to push back. Now be careful your buckle is not behind your head. I've seen it, I don't think you'd want to do that, but sometimes people end up finding their belts too close and then it snaps. All right, relax your left foot. You might steer your head a little bit. You might turn it just a tiny bit right to left. Just a little, and then find its center. Okay, feel the muscle belly of that right hamstring. I can really feel that here. Now as your hands reach to the back of your skull, if you've got the blanket, or not the blanket, but the belt there. Now I'm going to push into the belt pretty firm, push into my head, and then I'm just going to slide the belt off. And once I slide that off, just carefully let your head lower down. No shock to your skull here. That's not what we want. And then I'll just start to bend through the knee. And this is the leg, this great right leg that you have is going to be turning inwards in a few moments. Well, actually, wait. We're going to do a little bit of core first, but then we'll go inwards. So keep your belt. You're going to use it. All right. So sand goes away and then bring the knees in. Okay. Kind of feel this first. Feel when your knees are in and then when your legs go up. Like kind of feel how the core changes. My knees bend and then my legs stretch up. There's kind of this really deep abdominal source of support, you could say, even though this bolster is supporting you. All right, so just awareness of that. That's what we're going to be waking up. So as your knees bend, just having your hips up like this is a good abdominal strengthening. I would say for the organs, for the lower core, for the posterior core. We'll get there. So we're gonna rock and roll a little side to side. I like to use a ball sometimes center my knees, but maybe that's an extra thing we don't need to add here. Just let the knees go side to side. Feel the hip lift up each side. Arms could be resting to goal post, but just get a little heat into the low back. And then we're gonna just simply roll to our side, any direction you wanna go. And then slide down off the bolster. And we're gonna push it back a little bit. So you probably got a blanket, maybe you kicked it away by now, but you got a blanket down at the base and it's rolled up. So what I'm gonna have you do is bolster is right behind your pelvis, so you can feel it, right? You don't have to sit on it, but you can. I mean, I want to pretend it's gonna hold me up personally, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so you're gonna push your blanket down to your ankles. My soles of my feet are on the other side on the pressing down. And my feet are down, they're not toes up. Okay. Now take a ball, center of the knees. Okay. Squeeze the ball. Okay. The blanket is to be supportive. This blanket and the bolster are like these two sides opposing from when you're working in the core. Okay. All right. Get a belt. Well, let's say you don't want to grab onto the belt and pull. What you could do, which is, I think would be crazy challenging, but I'm gonna try it and just go for it. I'm gonna make a loop. My belt is twisted, but I guess it doesn't matter. I don't wanna make that noise. Okay, so I'm gonna make a loop so it's a little wider than shoulder width apart. It's comfortable for my joints, okay? If it's too close in, you're gonna feel like a little bit of pressure. So you can either hold your belt like that, or you can have it at your wrist so you don't have to grip it, right? Doesn't that sound sensible? Okay. Now I want you to lean back into that bolster and I want you to squeeze the ball, okay? Squeeze. And if you're holding the belt, you're pulling, right? And then you're gonna just sit up as tall as you can. Okay, now I'm not squeezing the ball as much right now. Okay, now, as I shift back into a boat pose, I'm gonna squeeze the ball. Okay, Navasana pose, you lean back. And then as I come up, I'm going to relax the grip. Okay, so for me, what would probably be easier is if I squeeze the ball when I come up, but I'm going to still follow this. I'm going to shift back, I'm going to squeeze the ball because that helps my lower back, right? And then I'm going to keep squeezing all the way up, and I'm still breathing in and out, right? So as you exhale, when you lower back, diaphragm moves up moves up, right? In breath, it moves down. So lifting up. And then don't worry about squeezing the ball, right? Just if you squeeze it, okay. But if you don't, that's okay too. So maybe you're squeezing as you come up, meaning the ball, maybe the belt, okay? And then shift back. Okay, now hang out here for a few moments, squeezing the ball and relax, okay? I think the belt is helpful. I mean, otherwise my arms would be just in the air without any support and I would probably really be upset, but the belt might be too much for some. You might let go of it, just drop it. Okay, last one. It's a little different way of doing boat pose. Squeeze, shift forward. Your breath might be a little challenged by now, okay? And then come on back. All right, okay. Let's take the ball away. Let's get our belt in a big loop. This is just not gonna do it, is it? A big loop. Hip flexors are needing help now. So I'm gonna bring the belt, move it overhead, wrap it around my back of my pelvis, scoop up my feet, bring my belt up all the way to the armpits, and then I'm gonna swing the legs to lift up. Okay, they don't really swing, but they kick out and lift, and now I'm in Navasana. Completely supported with my belt around the rib cage. Now, if your tailbone ain't so pleased with this, you might shift your legs a little forward. And sometimes I like this idea of my knuckles right to my ribs. And then I try to feel my breath pushing into the belt, but actually the belt's pushing into my ribs or my breath. So take a few moments to get this kind of motion around the ribs with your breathing experience. If your head's tilting in like this, you're going to try to let your head tilt back. Okay. All right. Now arms could go forward, they could go out, but you can also just stay with your elbows on the bolster. No big deal. Okay, feel the knees bending. Feel them drawing towards you, because that's probably the only way they're going to want to bend if they still have it together. Feel your feet. This is the one where the feet don't really love it, right? Your ankles, the feet get kind of crammed together. Okay, now try to straighten out the legs. Let your hands free. And then as you lower down your feet, it's like you're taking off a tight shoe. Here we go. We're going to lean down. It kind of is like that, isn't it? Take the belt off. All right. And let's get ready for some easy side sage work. How about that? So let's turn to the left. We're going to take our blanket that's at the base, and we're going to unroll it and just take it into a fold it and place it on top of the other folded blanket behind your bolster. Okay, the core is going to need some stretch now. It's had a little bit of gripping tightness. Okay, so it's nice to find ways to get to find the direction, right? How to engage and how to release. That's kind of my theme today. Is how to engage and how to release. Yeah, I can engage often, but it's the releasing. So a block or two on the other side of the blankets. If you're used to using just one, no big deal. But I'm going to go ahead and add a couple behind my blankets. And then as I get my sand and my ball, I like to use a ball under my right knee. So as I was talking earlier, we had the leg up and the leg was going to now rotate. This is where I'm coming to this one. So my right thigh's internally rotating. You have to be a little careful that you're not trying to push the knee up. Okay, even if you don't have a ball, right? Some of us find it just is easy without one. Easier. I don't find that for me. So ball in the inner knee, left thigh is externally rotating, right? And as you add your sand, if you do on the side of that right hip, be a little bit cautious here about the knee movement, even if you got happy knees, right? This can be a bit much on the inside of the knee if you keep pushing it back. You could push the leg back to stretch into the psoas, right? But try to work your way from moving from the attachment of the psoas versus like knee back. Feel from the waist down into the leg, and then let the right arm reach overhead to the block. Yeah, the block was a little closer than I was expecting there. Okay, and if it's too easy and you do want some more engagement in sensation, you're certainly welcome to just lower it down. And maybe it just feels like I want more range right now. It doesn't mean that more means you're not restoring, right? What you have, you might find that there's more in there to reach. And that can help us with circulation challenges. Who knows, maybe the side stuff will help with something else that you didn't think it would in the breathing. And feeling the lung function. You might notice a flutter, right, with circulation in the heart, above the ribs and inside. But definitely let the weight of your head relax on the blanket. The right arm could be reaching, and it could also reach in a different way than overhead. It could span open and back, kind of counterspin the chest stretch. Yeah, this is the mystery stuff right here, is when you're working with the movement of the breathing muscles with that deep intelligence to survive. So feel, even if that right arm lowers down besides your hip, that's fine. You can always let it just park it on the hip or park your pose with your hand on the bolster or maybe on the other hand. Yeah, let's park the pose for a few moments. Let the weight of your head really relax. You might think I do have it resting on the blanket, but is it letting go? With the next few moments before we come up, we are going to be staying in the Sage series work. Okay, so we're going to stay with the side body lengthening, but now kind of feeling that engagement into the back muscles and easing the shoulders and the arms. Okay, so when you feel that reach through the right side, if you've got sand on the hip or the ribs, then you might find you can kind of move your hip back and it'll come off. But I find that's probably not the smartest move for my knee, even though it's a hip thing, it does consider pulling the knee. So I just have to push it away. And then I'm going to move my right knee to my left foot. And then that helps me come up to twist. Yeah, so kind of think of the fundamentals of movement. So when I turn, I move the ball for sure. Now I can bring the knees into stacking the legs to the stacking the right leg on the left, but I think I like myself a pretty low twist right now. We've done a bit of the hip up on the bolster, right? So we did that arch a little while ago. So we've already had that satisfaction in our back. So you might just take the blanket off the top, one of them, and then turn your bolster up on the low blanket. You might decide, no, I don't like that low of a twist. I want a blanket on top of my bolster too. You can have that, right? You can always try going a little bit lower and turning your head, of course, and letting your arms relax. And just kind of feel if that's tugging on your rib strings too much, right? You might find, you might try them both. Because for me, I'm feeling a little bit of pull in my neck, and I do want to relax the tension there. So you might have some ideas that it'll be so easy, and then it's not so easy. Okay. So do you find it, and what's the difference, right? When I have a blanket under, it does push energy up into my jaw. So that could be positive or negative, right? You have to be the decider. It's a little tricky to get sand on your shoulder blades by yourself, I think. So you can just let that go and be okay with imagining that, right? Visualizing it. Spreading out the back space with your breath, right? Expanding. And if you happen to have sand on the back or you're able to place it even across the hip, that's fine. Like right here on the back of the pelvis. Let's just give a few moments to feel the twist. Feeling it more in belly, maybe than we do when we do seated twist, which we'll do today. So this is a good one to feel where you're touching the twist, right? Where your core muscles are feeling the touch of rotation. Right? Feeling rotation in the belly, in the ribs. Okay, now as you start to slide the hands back, if you feel like you can come up, do so and join for the seated series. And if you want to stay here a little longer, you might just stay. If this feels the most nourishing for you, you still get twist points, right, for your digestion, for your back care, for your core care. So this might be where you need to stay, right? So if you need to stay with that, stay with that. And if you want to come up, join the next little set. Okay. We'll be going to side sage, of course, on the right hip in a little bit. But for right now, let's just turn our bolster across the mat, horizontal. You can sit up on it and let the right leg reach out to about between 1 and 2 o'clock. I think 2 would probably be a little too much. So somewhere between 1 and 2. Mine's kind of at a lazy 1 right now, but I'm gonna kind of get flowing with the props first. Okay, so get a couple props out. I think what you'll need primarily, besides your bolster, is perhaps a ball under the right knee. This way I can move my leg a little bit out. Right, because kind of how I have it right now is my left knee points out. I'm going to put a block under it, and my right leg extends out. So I'm like at about it's kind of a 10 and almost a little bit past 1 on that right side. That's kind of my clock stance here. Okay, take a sandbag on the left thigh. And we're going to go into a turn first. So first things first, navel center. Okay, you don't want to forget that. It's easy. It's tempting to go to the twist first, but navel center, arch spine. I know your most basic seat of position for this pose. Right leg reaches out. Now you don't need a belt, but I think having maybe a block besides your right leg to the right side, not on the inside of the top, but right on the side of the right leg, on the floor besides it, have a block at the tallest setting. Okay. So now as you turn to the left, you're going to kind of get a feeling of heightened lift up into the upper respiratory. So in breath, turn, right? It's kind of interesting how breath will actually give you this height in this rib space, because if I was just to kind of push, I don't really get that height. So I turn to the left, bring my right hand to the left knee, and I'm going to use a blanket back here to help my hand be supported. Just give us support. So right hand holds the left knee, feeling that curve through spine and back of the shoulders and neck. You can let your eyes close. You can look behind you. You can let your head turn or not. See what happens when you pivot off the center line. Really feeling the movement of the right hand. Now, if your hand is like injured, you can't move into your right hand right now, you can let your palm be open on that the left leg, which is actually going to make you use your core a lot more, huh? You're going to have to get with it, with the center. Get with the program. Okay. Now with this kind of winding in the mid body, I like to visualize like I'm gonna throw a Frisbee or something. So I'm gonna reach the right arm over to the block on that right side. I'm gonna lean into the block. I'm gonna pull it in so it's a little more stable. And then stretch the left arm up and over. So I'm relaxing my right hand. The left arm is reaching, the ribs are trying to be kind of unribbed, right? You're trying to lift them up off each other and get that span. This is such good stuff for our back, right? So as you're reaching, you can turn your head to the right, down to the arm, or you can keep your head turned to the left and up. It's up to you. But why do something that's more straining, right? Of course, sometimes the poses are a little effort, but keep it simple. Easy does it. Let the left arm actually reach. So my left arm stretches back, so the shoulder, the chest is reaching, and my left arm relaxes to my back. Bring your left hand, right, the back of your hand, so that you can feel kind of the knuckles just touch to the basin of the spine, the curve. And then as you slowly push into that basin with your left hand, you're going to help yourself come up. Okay, now take the block on that right side forward and just center on your mat and bring your right foot on top of it. Keep that curve in the back, of course. What am I going to do with it? Where's it going to go? And lean forward into that simple cross-legged forward fold. Okay. Now, of course, you don't have to keep your hand on your back. You can bring your hands to hold your bolster. Some people will just simply gently hold the pelvic kind of top to feel like there's support. It might be intelligent just to let your hands relax back and just feel from the waist forward. Simple Sukhasana, right? So this is just a simple forward fold. It's kind of an elevated Sukhasana, right? Because your foot is up on a block. All right, now come on up. So from the crown of the head, keep that lift, or pretend you got a lift. All right. So we'll come down with the right foot off the block and we'll switch to the second side. So simple. Those of you that were taking a nap in your sleeping sage, it's time to go to the next side. We should ring a little bell. Slide the feet forward and then off the bolster. Now, if you want to do a little bit of windshield wiper, this might feel kind of pleasant for the hips because they were just in this kind of specific manner of movement. They were told to go a certain way. So just let the hips get some pressure across the back of the pelvis, the glutes, right? And then lean to the right hip and then move close to the bolster, placing a block or two behind you, behind your blankets, that is, and then a ball on the inside of that left knee. And I lean in. Now, I like to use just to feel the curve of my mid body. I'm a big fan of curve, contours. Kind of feel what's in your body that you can use the curve to help you get space, a little more inner spaciousness. Okay. The inner space becomes outer space for you. So as you place that sand on the outer left, and it could be outer left hip, it could be waist. I've seen some people like to put their sand like below their hip and try to get the side of the thigh to stretch. So yeah, I'm a little leery of that because of my knee. I'm not so sure I think that will be the best thing for my knee, but maybe I'm missing out. Okay, so as you feel that reach, it's not push the sand down and suck the belly in. I think it's like that's something to kind of feel like you're not trying for. It's get the length, the basic anatomy, and then go for the reaches, right? It's not only the left arm and left side that's getting a reach. What's really nice is the right arm is in the gap between the bolster and the blanket. It's in the gap. This right arm is not on a blanket. It is, I guess, the armpit is on the bolster. That's true. But I do want that right arm to be independent. And then when I lean down, my right thigh is close to the bolster. It's as close as I can get it to give my right side of my back that kind of interesting stretch. It's the same as the position we were doing way earlier when we had knee to chest, when we were first getting up on the bolster, reclining, not reclining, but inverting. So you might notice that similarity. Okay, and left arm is reaching overhead, or it's resting down on the bolster or the other hand, or maybe you're kind of moving around with the shoulder, kind of loosening up in the joint. This is good too. Right? You can just roll the shoulder. You can get that counter spin through the armpit chest. But finding a pattern where you relax your neck. Relax the weight of your head down. Breathe. It only helps. Now using the bolster as feedback for your breathing cycle, right? It's pressure into your breathing muscles. So it's always a bit of weight training in these breath practices and restorative endurance. Okay, now when we lower down the left arm besides our hip, right, we're going to move the sand away with some caution, right? Just push it away. And then feel where do you move in your midsection, right? It's your thoracics that have the easeful movement. So if I bring my left knee towards the right knee, I'm going to take the ball, move it aside, and then take a turn first. So I'm going to go slow. And I'm pushing off of my my right hip, and on my right sitting bone, kind of on the edge of it. Okay? So get a feel when you're taking that turn. Now, if you use the bolster on just one, if you only use one blanket, that's fine. So if you decide to come down, so in sleeping sage. But if there's something missing, to support your neck. Yeah, so on one side for me, when I lean down, I need a blanket. One side, I don't really feel like I need it. So it does tell me quite a bit about my neck. Like, you can do a lot of stuff on your own to take care of yourself too. It's kind of interesting. So one side I need it, one side I don't. I do have differences. One side seems to have more tension in general in a lot of areas. So want to work ahead here or relax ahead. Okay. So lower your belly down. If you're feeling too much arch in the back, like it's just a lot, just hug the legs together in a fetal position. That might do a lot for you to ease that pressure. So some of us might go, oh, this really feels pretty good on my back. Well, then go for it. You're in a prone twist, right? My waist is lowering down, heart is lowering down. My head is going to the left, and my arms just stretch open the chest. Yeah, if you want to do chest openers, but it's just too challenging for you, it's too vulnerable to be on your back with your, something pushing your back, this is a good one. If you're just a little bit too challenged, this is a good one because it's also massaging into the digestive tract, right? So you get some extra little bonus with the belly, with the stretch into the vertebrae. And then as my arms are open, I just relax my head and breathe. If for any reason it feels too much, creating too much tone, then you add the blanket on top. It will soften it. So it's okay to soften your pose. Slide the hands in, press into the palms to arch. If you feel like I need to go back to the pose again, go back and repose. And then for the rest of us, we'll come up and we'll turn our bolster across. We'll do one more side. And then as we stretch the left leg out to about maybe 10, 11 o'clock, and then the right leg bending, the ball under the left knee, the sand on the right thigh, maybe a block. Now, if your right leg touches down, like the knee part, the shin touches easily, the knee touches down, don't use a block, right? If you find, oh, my knee is a little bit up and it feels like if I push it down, I feel tighter in my lower back, then you need a block. Or a blanket. Actually, the blanket is really nice because it's a responsive surface, right? So when you turn your waist to the right, you're gonna bring your right hand back. And as you rotate, we've already kind of reviewed a little bit of that center and then turn. So hopefully you have that kind of, I guess you're on a repetition mission here, right? On the second side, you have some muscle memory of centering and turning, but if you don't, you can always turn navel back forward and then turn to the right. But kind of feel, and I'm always trying to, I kind of, in my practice, I'm trying to get this broader and bigger and more robust as far as my rib cage for my respiratory strength. So I'm a huge fan of that. So when you turn to the right, you're going to get a feel for that rotation through the ribs. You know, I forgot the block on that left side, but that's easy to get. So when you're turning, do you breathe or do you wait to get out of the twist to breathe? Right, find that expansion. Relax on the out breath. Okay, now take a block besides the left leg and then lean into it with your left arm. So tip down. So you are doing a little bit of this kind of typewriter motion. So you're leaning to the left with your left arm down the block. And hey, if you can get your elbow on your leg, right? If you want to bring your hand to hold your foot, that's okay too. You can always go with those options if it's really easy for you. But as the arm is on resting to the block, I stretch the right arm over the right side of the face. And so get a feel of that reach to the side body. Breathing. Kind of feeling into the side. You know, right arm behind you to your spine with your hand. Come up, try to lift from your head, right? Not from your like pressure in your low back. Try to lift up high and then place the block forward under your left foot, crossing that left foot on top, and then take that forward fold. I'm just going to leave my sand on my leg, but you could remove it. If you decide sand is too much, you can always remove it off of your right thigh, and you can have your hands to the arch of the spine. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of layer here because, right, I might run out of time with some ideas today. So I got some specifics I want to make sure we get to. So with one thing, an idea, I want you to take your block if you want. If you decide I'm just going to go forward and lean and skip that, that's okay. So block between your hands, arms reaching up. Block is at the widest setting, right? And I hold on to it and I bend through my elbows. So my elbows lift up. That's kind of a tricky concept, is bend, but lift up the arms, but don't lift your hands, okay? Like you got half an arm here, right? You're moving your elbows back and you're trying to move your block to your upper back. You're actually trying to get it to touch to your upper back. Yeah, no special awards if you do, but give it a try, see if gravity will help you. And then bring your block back up. Keep the arches of the spine, good, breathe. It only helps. And then move your block back to the upper back. Now you might decide, I ain't doing that. I'm gonna move my block in front of my face, right? You could do that too. Anything that's going to engage into the triceps. We can go either forward or we can go back. Okay, nice work. And then arms go up. And then we've been in this one for a little bit, so we're going to shift. We're going to move our left foot off of the block, and we're going to go all posterior forward for a few moments. So take the sand off, turn to your bolster. So you're going to be face down on it, bolster lengthwise. Wall's probably near you. So I would push your feet into the wall, kind of push your blankie, and then you're going to lower down on your bolster with your core. Now my bolster is touching the top of my thigh, so you don't have to come up and down, but it's at the top of the thigh. So if I have my hip, my frontal hip bone, my femur, it's pushing a little bit into there. So when I reach forward, we're going to stretch our arms back, and bonus if you have a wall to help you, but you don't want too much wall. So if I'm too close to the wall, it's actually going to be disappointing for support. So I want to just be able to touch the wall, my legs straighten out, stretch my arms back, locust pose. Okay, use your glute muscles because you know we're going to get to the glutes next probably. So fire up into the back and then lower down your elbows besides your bolster. So you're in Sphinx pose, and see if you can still elevate through your heart. And then if you want to relax your knees, you can. I'm going to keep mine up because once I put them down, I won't have the oomph to get them back up. So I'm just going to keep working in that kind of spiral in my strength in my lower back. Now I like to do anything I can to put some strength there. So push into the wall. Your knees could be down. Yes, you might feel like, oh, I don't want to bring them back up. Okay, so press back. We're going to do it one more time. So if you're in Sphinx, elbows are down, arching through the heart, and then bring your arms back and elbows by your sides, and then stretch your arms off the floor so palms are towards your sides. Try to lift the heart. That's the work. Push your front core span right into the bolster, lengthen through the belly. And then we will lengthen through the belly next. So lower down, hands, arching. You might push into up dog. You might decide, no, I ain't doing up dog. I'm going to have my elbows on the floor. Okay, that's fine. So I'm here, or I'm elbows on the floor, here. I don't want to exaggerate the neck pull either with Sphinx pose. Now slide on back. You're going to shift back and hips back, and then move your bolster down to the base. Those of you that want to do a little cat-cow, this is your opportunity. Chin to chest, around the back. Arch the spine. If you want to do a little cat-cow, but not with a handstand, you can put the elbows down. Do a little motion through your back. It's probably nourishing, right, for the spine, the pelvis, arching. Fluidity through the spine to the neck. And then slide out with your hands, crawl, get your blanket, unroll it if it's rolled up so it's the lowest setting possible. You want to have a tiny little fold for your blanket. And move onto your back. And what we're going to do is we're going to do our little bridge set without the bolster. So we'll put our bolster off to the side yard, right? Actually to the right side. How about that? Okay, scoot to the wall. You're too far away, I imagine. It's too far from the wall for help. Okay, now bring your feet up the wall. Take a block. Okay, push into your feet, lift the hips up, place the block under your pelvis. Any height will do. And then bring your feet down to the base of the wall. Okay, now, some of you, I kind of know who you are, like this pose a lot. And so you'll end up going as high as you can with your spine. I'm not so sure that's the best idea at this point in the class to overdo it, but not that that's overdoing it, but it might be a lot when we're at the next part of the class. We've gone from peak and now we're kind of getting to landing and grounding. But if you decide I need more, what you could do is put your feet up at the wall when your block is under your pelvis, and then create that stronger sense in the abdominal muscles. And you could do legs up again, right? But I would say we are going to do legs up again. But I would say put the feet to the wall and just feeling the energy that moves from the hips and then down through the ribs to the armpit, and the circulation into the heart and lung meridian in the arms. Right? If you've got stuff going on with your hands and so forth, it's always good to give those areas some recognition and circulation. All right, take a few moments here. Feet are either up or down. You don't have to have them up at the wall. It's nice for circulation to shift back into the hips. Okay, now as you shift your block, I'm going to just keep my feet up for right now and see how this goes. So I'm going to scoot my feet down a little bit, push into my feet, move the block out, and then take a ball and place it under my left rear and then massage into the glute. Now I'm going to put one foot on the floor, one foot on the wall, so I can kind of steer across the glute. What would probably be ideal is if I was really close to the wall and I could have both feet up the wall, but right now it's not possible. I'm too far back. But you can play with that kind of thing, getting higher up with your feet when you're massaging into your glute, because it puts more circulation into the area you're massaging when your feet are up. Just the gravity of it all. But up to you. You know what would probably help would be the bolster under my feet, but I already took that idea away, so always an opportunity to improve. But a ball pressure is a ball pressure as well. Okay. All right, glide across the glute. Remember, it's hip movement, not so much knee movement. It's about wagging your tail across the muscle. I don't know, wagging your tail across the muscle. I don't mean that, but you know, wagging your tail so you can glide across the muscle. That's a first with that thought. Okay, now when you're switching sides, rub into the ball, really rub it, and then move it over to the right side if you haven't already, and then put all your weight on the ball and roll. Even if your ball is seemingly kind of really squishy, you know, it feels like it's too flat for you, that's okay. Those can be really nice for rolling too. So it doesn't have to be like the most firm ball, or it could just be a little soft. And as you're gliding across, give it a few moments. We're going to do a brief hip crossover and then legs up, because I know I'm pushing the edges of time here with this class today, but what do you know? What's new? Okay, now just because we massaged into the glute, it's probably a good idea to get that full kind of reach. So we'll take the ball away and we'll cross the left leg over to the bolster on the right. Keep the knees bendy, okay? You can add your sand to the side of that left thigh, or you could just keep it like this. You might go, this is good. I still feel a nice stretch. The sand might be helpful to add some sensation. And it also might be good for grounding and traction. And what else is it good for? The bones, right? So the weight. So we got some added benefits here, one to the next. So if it's easy enough for you to put some weight on your hip, great. Okay, otherwise be okay with what you got. So as the spine is in its curve, take about maybe 30 seconds here, just a short crossover, enough time to receive that sensation across the back of the pelvis into the hip. Now, as you shift sides in the next few moments, try to go from one lens to the next without a lot of in between on the way we're going today. So when you move your sand, maybe to your belly, maybe you're no sand, that's okay. Push into your feet, move your hips to the right. That's what I like to in between, is push into my feet about hips distance, then move my hips a little to the right. As I let the left leg relax down, I got my bolster moved to the left side. And I'm going to swing the right leg over to the bolster, add the sand on the side of that thigh. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you have the ball at the tailbone, that's that. And that gives you plenty of information to release tension, right? So part of it is, how can I release tension? Is it Do I need sand? Do I need the bolster or not? But as you feel the ribs, they have this nice little openness, stability through the lower belly, shoulders back. And now just visualize straightening the legs, right? We're going to keep them really far reaching and then move the sand away. We're not going to visualize legs up. We'll do it unless you got to go. So we'll take our bolster and we'll place it right up against the wall. And we're going to slide our blankie back. If you got sand, have it nearby. And you're going to scoot your hips right up to the wall. If you find that going into the wall is too much exertion right now, you can always pass, right? You can have your legs up on a chair, on an ottoman, if that's easier to adapt your positioning to. But I've got my legs lifted straight up, and I've got my blanket probably a little lower than I personally like. I like a pretty well quarter full blanket, and I do put it in the gap at my neck, right? I put it all the way down to the neck area. There's plenty of teachings where it would be no blanket. It would be a big rounded hand towel at your neck. There's all kinds of things you could try. And you might find trying other things could be useful for you, right? This might be too much height. You might go no blanket. Yeah, I think when I go no blanket, I get a little too lightheaded after it. I find that I'm a little more woozy. Some people like to be more woozy. They like to have the lower blood pressure even more and more and more. So it really might be something you like. Okay, it might be something if you feel like this really lowers my blood pressure too much when I get out. I'm really lightheaded. Maybe a little bit of height under your head is going to be kind of what you need to do. These little things matter. So sand on feet, perhaps. Let's take a few moments just reversing the flow back to the heart. So as you relax your head back on the blanket or the firm ground, let your shoulders center back. Your hands could relax out. They could even rest on your belly. But that felt sensation of inhale and the embodiment of your breath. Notice where it kind of flushes into the body, but it's bringing energy in, right? There's circulation that comes into the body from oxygen, especially up into the brain. So notice that part, right? Where you're circulating into the brain here when you breathe in through your nose. Head is back. It's not it's at the top of you still, of course, but your feet are higher up. All right, let's feel where the shoulders are back. Feel where the ribs flow. So with tailbone relaxing, not having to really be forceful there, but feel where the tailbone centers and then shift the feet away from the wall. Slowly bending through the knees. Remember, go slow. and then reach up to the sand and slide that off to the side yard. Hug the back of the leg so you can get a little pressure in your digestive tract here. And if the blanket's too much, you can slide it back. Make sure you can easily breathe, the throat is relaxed. A little bit more pressure in the abdominals. And then if you want to stay there, you can keep staying there, squeezing circulation in the core, or then roll up. Or let's roll to the side and come on up. Take a seat against the wall so you can feel where that support is at the back of the shoulders, the support behind the shoulders into the spine, and bring your hands up to your heart center. And with appreciation for your focus and support, let's unite our breath, breathing in wellness. And with exhalation, bowing into the peace behind your heart. Gratitude. Namaste. Okay. It's Earth Day, isn't it? Is it Earth Day today?